Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello. Welcome to hour number 2 of the line, Talk 99.5, talk995.com. By the way, for those of you watching on YouTube, I wore my Donald Trump shirt today. This is actually a signature. It's just a,
He signed your shirt?
yeah. Oh, it's not.
What the heck?
It's just printed on there. It's not real.
He printed it?
No, he didn't print it.
Maybe a member of his family did.
Maybe so. Maybe Barron did it.
Or maybe some guy in like Nevada or something.
Probably.
Who's a big Trump supporter though. So that's close enough.
Yeah, you obviously got to be a Trump supporter to make Trump merchandise, or politically neutral and just a real entrepreneur. Because you think about this, nobody has created an industry just by being himself like Donald Trump has. Just on the aspect of merchandise, which, he kind of, he's the one that kicked it off. But once people realized how popular it was to own Trump merchandise, how many jobs were created just on Trump's name?
Exactly.
Where Trump didn't even make a dime. Like Trump, when somebody opens a Trump store in Pigeon Forge or, Dodge City or wherever, Donald Trump's not making any money. He's not getting royalties off that stuff. People are just, making Trump merch, and people eat it up.
Yeah, and he's smart because it's just marketing for him. I mean, it's just, he doesn't need the money.
Yeah.
So it's just more PR for the man.
But people that open Trump stores, man, it's a very smart move because you make money off people like myself, because I'm one of those people that buy the Trump merch for sure. I am one of those people. All right, if you want to get in, 205-545-9950. King Charles is set to visit the White House today. Ironically enough, just a couple days after a assassination attempt, there was questions about whether or not he would come, but he said, "You know what? I'm going to come anyway, and they'll do a big, thing or whatever." But it really highlights, just as this assassination attempt highlights, the need for the ballroom. And I believe the ballroom lawsuit is supposed to be in court today again. So not only do you have King Charles coming in, you have the ballroom case in court today, and you also have at 12:45 the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooter in court in Washington at 12:45, which is about less than 2 hours from now, about an hour and a half from now. So we'll be keeping up with all of that as it happens. But all of those situations bring up the need for the ballroom. One, if they had the ballroom built, it wouldn't have been built even with, the stoppage of the lawsuit, but the need for it. If the ballroom would have been there with bulletproof glass and security on the White House grounds, nobody with ill intentions would have been able to get in there. It's the White House. Then on top of that, with King Charles coming in today, instead of being able to have him in a big, beautiful ballroom, they are going to have their reception with King Charles in a tent on the White House grounds, which is how they, as of late, have been welcoming world leaders in a tent. Imagine that. Imagine going to the White House and being like, "You're a world leader," and they're like, "Yeah, we're going to go hang out in this tent." It's kind of ridiculous. But yet, because of Trump derangement syndrome, they are blocking the construction of a privately funded ballroom simply because Trump is doing it. If Barack Obama were doing this and he made sure, which this would never happen, and he made sure that no taxpayer money went to it, or Joe Biden or whoever, it would have been applauded. They would have been like, "Oh my God, look how selfless this guy is. He went out of his way to raise money so taxpayers weren't on the hook, and the ballroom's gonna be beautiful and everything else." But because it's Trump, everything the Democrats do is beautiful. Everything Trump does is atrocious. Remember how Joe Biden used to decorate the White House and how god awful it was? Does everybody remember that? And the press was like, "Oh, it's so lovely." It's obvious. It's obvious what's going on here. Anyway, I got to talk about the shooter himself. We'll get into that here in a few moments. Let me get to the phone lines. Hazmat Jim up first. What's up, buddy?
I know. First of all, you ever had one of these buffalo chicken grilled cheese sandwiches at QT?
I have
Truck
not.
stop? Oh, man, go out of your way. Anyway, secondly, speaking of getting things out of the way, you remember how back at just the very first day of the shooting in Pennsylvania, there was that story about how the gate was padlocked shut and the Secret Service had to ram the gate to get out. But then after the first day, nobody ever talked about that again. Kind of feel like there's a need to say this as well. So, the footage is there if you just go look for it. It's like there was some reporter who was on the cell phone with her husband and cuts him off, disconnects the phone so that he can't be heard on a microphone saying something's about to happen, be safe, and he gets hung up on. Meanwhile, you got Jimmy Kimmel on stage making this asinine, psychotic comment, "Melania, you look like a woman with the glow of a newly widowed woman." And then Caroline Levitt out in the hallway seconds before it happens, she's saying there's going to be shots fired tonight while she flashes the 666 hand signal. So, I'm not saying that these things weren't real, but the idea that, nobody else knew something was going to happen, that seems like a stretch for me. And I just thought maybe you could talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I'll get into that. I mean, it's a little, and thanks, man. It's a little early to be saying that, everybody knew this was going to happen. I mean, I think this is exactly what it seems to be. Saying that Caroline Levitt knew something was going to happen, and she was flashing the 666 symbol on the camera. That's that's actually the first time I've heard that part of it. I did see the clip of her saying shots fired. This was not right before it happened. It was before the dinner got started and the press was out interviewing attendees. She was talking about how Donald Trump's going to be on fire tonight and expect to see shots fired. What she means is shots fired from Trump at the media. He's not going to pull any punches. He's going to take some shots at him. But yeah, no, I'm not. I've seen nothing that gives me the belief that this is, I mean, to say that those things are going on, I feel like you're alluding to, and I'm not accusing you, but it seems like you're alluding to the Trump administration knew that this was going to happen, which is, pretty crazy to think that the Trump administration would be able to go to an individual out in California who completely hates Trump and convince them to team up with them to stage an assassination attempt to then make them look good. I don't know. Seems like a stretch to me. Let me keep moving. Clarissa up next. Clarissa, how are you?
Hey, I just wanted to say to the people that are saying that this was staged, that this was planned, my question was, if this was all staged, why would members of the left side of the media be in attendance? Because obviously they blame Trump for everything. So if one thing had fumbled and the situation gone south, the Trump administration never would have lived that down. So that, none of that makes any sense. All respect to your other callers. And I have a question too. What would happen if Trump or Melania had said to Jimmy Kimmel's wife what Kimmel had said about Melania, even as a joke? I think there would have been gnashing of teeth in Hollywood. And I, for one, would love to see America unite this third time and turn on Kimmel and to see him lose his job. Of course, there is freedom of speech, which we will all protect, but there's not freedom from consequences of what you say. And lastly, I just wanted to say, Andrew, that, America's 250th birthday is coming up, and what would be such a beautiful thing is a truce in our political system to celebrate our joint heritage. This country belongs to all of us, and we really need to start acting like it.
Amen. Amen to that. All right, Clarissa, I appreciate it. Yeah, with Jimmy Kimmel, which I'll get into in a few moments, now's the time to show that same outrage from the Charlie Kirk incident, because at the end of the day, while Jimmy Kimmel's comments, which I'll play for you, weren't made after the assassination attempt, they still were kind of the same vibe of insensitivity towards something that did or could cost someone their life. And it just brings back around the point that Jimmy Kimmel hasn't learned his lesson. So if you're the executives of the station and his show, you got to say to yourself, all right, this guy's becoming too big of a liability, and it's time to boot him for good. And it's up to people to reach out to the networks and say, hey, you need to let this guy go. The same outrage that happened after Charlie Kirk needs to happen in this situation, in my opinion. Richard the Cop up next. What's up, buddy?
I'll make it quick. I'm glad they were not successful. Kash Patel, being the FBI director, should be armed and been up participating, but he was hiding under a table like a little bug-eyed girl. And Dana White needs to be the new FBI director.
Boy, that'd be wild.
Oh,
yeah. Our brother would have been stomping somebody's brains out if he could have got a hold of them. Because he is a loyal Trump supporter. He will do what he's asked to do. He said that in the past when people tried to get him not to speak for Trump during the first administration. So Kash Patel has done a good job, but I think he had a failure the other night. He should have been hopping tables and trying to get the guy in custody just like everybody else there. Because a chief of an organization like that is no better than the lowest officer in the bunch. Roll Tide, y'all.
Here's Richard the Cop. Yeah, I agree. It would have been a really good look for Kash Patel, and not to defend him, but they do have kind of a protocol when it comes to the appointed officials, the cabinet, if you will, and the heads of agencies, where they have protection with them 24/7, and once something goes down, they are told to follow the instructions of their security. But at the same time, if Kash Patel would have told his security, hey, back off, I'm going to see if I can help out with this.
That would have been cool.
That would have been cool.
Like James Bond, he unbuttons his tux, pulls out that Luger.
That would have been a cool look. That would have been cool. All right, 205-545-9950. Phone calls are packed, so y'all hang with me. I'm going to get to you. 205-545-9950. 205-545-9950. I need to talk about the shooter and who this individual is. Let me do that here in a moment. First, let me get Bubba Rumble. Bubba, what's up?
Hey now.
Hey now.
I know.
First and foremost, welcome back, Jonathan Bizzle.
Thank you,
I'm
brother.
so happy you were able to spend all those days with your family and the celebration of life. And your post on Facebook, to wrap it all up, just exemplifies how important it is to have the Spirit of the Lord with you for when the trying times like that come up. The Spirit of the Lord will carry you through.
Amen.
Yeah. Amen.
So, yeah,
and now
welcome back,
tell him
buddy.
about how hard it was for me and how everybody was hammering me.
It was a struggle session, a 5-day struggle session, brother. And, you know, if it wasn't for the Hey Now Nation, Andrew might be in therapy today.
That's true. That's true.
All right, so I knew the Hey Now Nation was going to be blowing up the phone today. And, yeah, this is getting ridiculous, all right? So, first and foremost, I've got to tell you all how lucky you are that you can get the terrestrial broadcast signal in the home region of the Hey Now show, because when I'm out and about running errands, I have to listen to Glenn Beck in the mornings, which is a 50-50 affair at best. But this morning, he had a guest on there. I guess she was a journalist that was there when everything was going down, which backed up my first suspicion is why was security so lax. And she backed up everything I was thinking, because going to the perimeter was not secure. They weren't really checking ID to get into the ballroom or anything like that. And the first thing I thought is you see this little Nancy boy, libtard dude go running past about 10, I guess it's Capitol Security and maybe Secret Service. And they just like, they're standing there like deer in the headlights. They don't even react till he's already past them. It's just like, okay, is that the best we have to offer? Fully knowing that there's no shortage of people out there that are trying to take our dude out.
Yeah. I talked to several people that are on the inside. Several people. It's not that many people, but that are on the inside, and I got some explanations as to how all that laid out. And I think a big part of what it comes down to on the Secret Service side of things is that there is a severe manpower issue within the Secret Service. And that is something that has plagued the Secret Service for years now. That has got to be addressed, and I don't know who's addressing it. It really doesn't seem like anybody's addressing it, but that is a reason for the way security was set up that night at that hotel. First of all, shouldn't be having it at a hotel if the president's going to be there. I think we should all agree to that. But because of the manpower issues, they had to create what they call a funnel, which is take the majority of their security and use that to secure the ballroom itself, which is just one small portion of the entire larger hotel. So the lax security was on the outside of the hotel, which doesn't make us comfortable because you've got protesters out there, which are obviously mentally deranged people in the first place. And then you get through certain layers where you've got receptions for different networks that there's not really any security there. And then not until you get close to the ballroom is there any sort of meaningful security. And, you know, all it takes is, as we saw, one individual that can run pretty fast to sprint. And if the Secret Service as a whole is not ready, or Capitol Police or whoever is in that area, that guy could have, even if he got through the doors of the ballroom for, 2 seconds, could have caused some pretty bad damage. And I think there needs to be, I think the Secret Service did what they were supposed to do, but I think there needs to be some real, introspective looking back at what they had here and what they would do differently as far as the entire structure.
2 or 3 of whoever was in that hallway, you got this dude lurking in the hallway, and then he just bust into a full run. 2 or 3 of those guys could have clotheslined him on the way by, but they shirked away from him when he ran by like he was a lion running through a herd of gazelles or something, And that ain't right, dude. Like you're the first line of defense, the last line of defense, and you're supposed to put yourself in harm's way, and that's not what I saw happen there. And granted, they stopped a guy, but not after he shot one of their guys. I mean, the one guy was so close to him, he could have just clotheslined him on the way by. And then the one other quick thought that came to my mind the first I saw and heard of what this dude did and how he did is like, this guy plays too many first-person shooter games. And then I find out this morning in that same interview that not only did he like playing first-person shooter games, but he was a software developer for first-person shooter games. And I think that's how a lot of these people, there's a blur of reality with these guys that get way too into these shooter games where that's exactly how they act in real life now, and that's their solution to things. Is they're just going to go first-person shooter and like in the Orange Man with charging the war zone or whatever, and it's just disgusting that this happened again. But the warning signs are all there, and there's a lot of communication with this dude's family where his sister even had an interview with the Secret Service about how unhinged he was acting and the things he was talking about. And this was with, long before this happened. So a lot of failures that led to yet another attempt on our dude's life. And praise the Lord, they keep blowing it because they're a bunch of just lunatic, brainwashed Zoomer doomers like we were talking about last week.
Yeah.
We were talking about it a couple of days last week, and here we got another one that just lost it and tried to take out our dude. So y'all increase your prayers for Donald John Trump and his family.
Amen to that. Bubba, appreciate it, man.
All right, brothers. All right, I'm out. Hey now.
Hey now.
Hey now.
Yeah, it's an infuriating situation, nonetheless. That just, 3 times in 2 years. When is enough? 205-545-9950. I'm getting a little too ambitious on adding songs.
He said a naughty word.
Yes. I know. It seemed like a song, but I was like, when I saw that one, I was like, man, that's weird. I hadn't added that song. That's a good one.
There's no gray box with an E in the middle.
You can't trust it. You can't trust it. You can't trust it when it's got one. You can't trust it when it don't got one. I mean, sometimes it'll have one, but it'll be so late in the song that it's irrelevant. But it's just, it's whatever. It's our life, John Bird. It's this kind of stuff we got to deal with.
You and me, brother.
It's kind of stuff we got to deal with. All right, let's talk about the shooter. I just saw some Democrat on MSNB, MS Now or whatever, and he was talking about how we need to regulate social media companies in order to, tamp down on this hatred and these crazy people being able to, fester and whatever. And I'm like, wait a minute. When we look through this shooter's social media, he's following and retweeting all the Democrat propaganda and the Democrat reporters' tweets and stories. Like, what are we going to regulate on social media? Are we going to stop mainstream media outlets from posting their anti-Trump tweets and reports? Because that's what radicalized this guy. You go through the shooter's Blue Sky account and his different social medias, and this guy is a violent, no kings protester. He's got obsessive anti-Trump rants. He posts violent gifts, J.D. Vance attacks. He's got this pro-Ukraine obsession. It's just one thing after another. One he retweeted, every single one of these effing Christian charlatans would support the Antichrist himself if he spouted enough anti-immigrant and anti-trans-ish as he rode through town. This one says, Trump is literally one of those villains that if you beat his ass hard enough, he'll join your team. Don't really have any other insights to this. It's not really actionable. It's not really actionable because no way Schumer just canes him into acting his age, but like it would probably literally work on him. I don't even know that I understand that, but another one says, we put a known traitor in office who explicitly ran on revenge, who effed up the COVID response with known connections to murderous effort in the Kremlin. I'm mostly surprised by this administration's incompetence and fascism. I was expecting actual fighting to have started much earlier. And there's other things here. I'm just flipping through. He's another one. Best time to buy a gun was greater than or equal to your state's waiting period days ago. Second best time is today. This was in a response to the Trump DOJ looking at ways to ban transgender Americans from owning guns.
Need to go after those folks. We've got AI. Find those. Because, I mean, to me, that's a direct threat. Well, it's a veiled threat. So I guess the TDS hasn't gotten them too bad because they can figure out a way around it. There's no direct threat, so they probably wouldn't do anything.
Well, and there was a report, and I think Bubba alluded to it, that one of his family members reached out to the DOJ or Secret Service or somebody and said, hey, my brother's acting crazy, and we don't.
If that's the case, that's a failure right there.
Yeah, that it was a long time ago, but they did reach out. Leading up to the 2024 election, Cole Allen repeatedly shared Kamala Harris and Midas Touch post. He shared mainstream Democrat politicians like AOC, J.B. Pritzker, Senator Warren, Sheldon Whitehouse. He retweeted mainstream Democrats comparing Trump to Hitler. One says, imagine obsessing over polls in the 1933 German election. That is what is going on now. Trump is in, let's see. After the 2024 election, Cole Allen believed the mainstream Democrat narrative was a fascist convicted felon had become president. He shared Bill Kristol's belief that the Trumpist authoritarian project of personalized, concentrated, and arbitrary power is proceeding. He shared Democrat conspiracies popular on X, including claims Trump staged the Butler assassination. He also shared posts about Elon Musk's Starlink stealing the 2024 election. How about Starlink stealing the 2024 election?
Jeez, man.
It
was just Kamala sucked. That was the bottom line.
He shared posts claiming Tulsi Gabbard was a Russian asset. The only way to get Tulsi confirmed to the U.S. Senate is to wholly abdicate its responsibility to maintain the safety and security of U.S. citizens. He shared posts referring to Trump's cabinet as rapist, spy, zealot, anti-vaxxer. Many posts from others. Trump is nominating the most corrupt, ethically compromised, incompetent cabinet. Trump was openly supportive of rioters ransacking the U.S. Capitol. Constitutional crisis, the normal Democrat talking points. And what's crazy is Cole Allen looks like he came from a good family. He's a Caltech graduate. He's got a master's in computer science.
Whoa. You said Caltech graduate?
Yeah.
Bingo.
His belief mirrored mainstream Democrat talking points, which, a lot of people do. Yet he charged at a Secret Service checkpoint with a shotgun, willing to die just to have a shot at the president. He retweeted a post saying, voting for Jill Stein is such embarrassing ish. Another said, we'll either have the first woman president or the end of America. That was back in 2016. Or was that 24? I think it was 24. Truly fascist, just named Putin as director of national intelligence. It's all kind of the same thing. I mean, there's just a laundry list that you can get an idea of this guy's mindset through his social media. And outside of just retweeting stuff on the internet, which Democrats are at fault for because they have fueled this stuff. I mean, this guy believed that Trump was Hitler reincarnated. He believed Donald Trump was a rapist, a pedophile, all of these different things. And it took him to a place where he ultimately acted on it. And now I can't help but, look back. And of course, by the way, Cole Allen was on TV at some point. Every time something like this happens, whether it's a school shooter or whatever, they've either been in a commercial or a BlackRock ad, or they've been in some sort of local news report. That's the case for Cole Allen. He was a part of some senior citizen, inventing products for nursing home convention or something. And out of all the people there at that convention, they highlighted Cole Allen.
College student Cole Allen developed a prototype for a wheelchair emergency brake.
The wheelchair brakes tend to lock the wheels, but don't actually lock the chair to the ground. The idea with this is to prevent it from moving at all.
Recent Aging into the Future conference held by St. Barnabas Senior Services and the Eisner Foundation offered a test run on products that have the potential to enrich the lives of seniors.
So that voice was of Cole Allen. I guess he was a student at Caltech at that time, but of course he's on TV. Like, all of these people have some sort of backstory where they're on TV or in some commercial. In particular, he was there with his you know what his invention was? It was a way, it was like a backstop for wheelchairs in order to keep them from moving. Like normally you've got the wheel locks, but his idea was the wheel locks aren't enough, that you need some sort of contraption to attach to a wheelchair to keep it from rolling off or whatever. And it was just a handful of PVC pipes that he put together that went from the back of the wheelchair to touch the floor. to make it stop. And I'm like, dude, any redneck could have put that together. You don't have to be some sort of engineering major to figure that out. It was just several pieces of PVC pipe put together. I'm like, okay, buddy. But anyway, back to the rhetoric itself. The individuals that have contributed to this, and you can go ahead and guarantee yourself now that this individual, that Cole Allen, had heard these words from these individuals. Case in point, Ted Lieu. It was just a few weeks ago that Congressman Ted Lieu was at a Democrat caucus press conference saying these words to the press and to the rest of the world, including to crazy people like Cole Allen.
Donald Trump is in the Epstein files thousands and thousands of times. In those files, there's highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children, of Donald Trump threatening to kill children.
He said that out loud for everybody to hear.
What a dumbass. I mean, just...
That's what Democrats... And Democrats have the audacity to say, well, we might need to have some regulations on social media so people can't be saying crazy things on the internet. While the craziest of things are being said on Capitol Hill behind a microphone. Who are the ones responsible for this? If we want to point fingers to people other than the shooter himself, there's your answer. There's the direction to point. People like Ted Lieu. People like Jimmy Kimmel, as was stated by our phone calls. Jimmy Kimmel I think this was Friday night. What he did a segment on his show where he pretended to be the host of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which was going to be the following night. And he got up there and he was telling jokes about Trump and everything else. And then at one point during his pretend session of being the host of the Correspondents' Dinner, Jimmy Kimmel said this.
President Trump has accomplished so much during his second term. He passed new incentives for oil and gas. He put the brakes on solar and wind. That will be your legacy, sir. Breaking wind and passing gas. I do have to ask, though, why do you hate windmills so much? Is it because they can still get turned on by being blown? Marco knows what I'm talking about. He's been there. But I do want to praise the POTUS. Look how far you've come. 30 years ago, you were just some rich guy on Jeffrey Epstein's private jet out of Teterboro, but you worked hard, you stayed friends, you shared some wonderful secrets, and because of that, you were able to fly on that plane 7 more times. Dreams really do come true. Am I right, Dog the Bounty Hunter? That's right. We miss you so much. And of course, our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
A glow like an expectant widow. And then the next day, somebody tries to turn Melania into a widow.
Isn't that interesting? How coincidental?
So my point being with Jimmy Kimmel is like, isn't it time to go ahead and cancel this guy? I'm not a big fan of canceling people, but the network, what is he, CBS? Or is that's Stephen Colbert? What is Kimmel? ABC? Isn't it time for ABC to say, you know what? This is the same thing we went through with the Charlie Kirk thing. It's the same thing we went through before that. Jimmy Kimmel is an obvious problem. And now here he's done it again. He hasn't learned his lesson. Jimmy Kimmel doesn't have to be funny. He's made it clear that his show is not about being funny. But still, there's a million different directions you can go if you want to make a joke about the First Lady. Calling her a widow, and forget the assassination attempt from Saturday. Let's talk about the two before that. To say something about Melania Trump being a widow after a sitting president has had shots taken at him twice now, and God knows how many other assassination attempts that have been foiled. It's probably in bad taste. So ABC, it's up to you, buddy. As a matter of fact, Melania sent out this tweet this morning from her own account. She said, Kimmel's hateful and violent rhetoric is intended to divide our country. His monologue about my family isn't comedy. His words are corrosive and deepens the political sickness within America. People like Kimmel shouldn't have the opportunity to enter our homes each evening to spread hate. A coward. Oh, I like this. Now she's speaking my language. She's calling them names. A coward. Kimmel hides behind ABC because he knows the network will keep running cover to protect him. Enough is enough. It is time for ABC to take a stand. How many times will ABC's leadership enable Kimmel's atrocious behavior at the expense of our community? Nailed it. Nailed it. Good job, Melania. Great job, First Lady. Best First Lady in history. Listen to this take from Democrat Representative Krishnamurthy. He says 3 assassination attempts on him, his very low approval ratings, which unfortunately fuel a lot of disaffection. saying he's had 3 assassination attempts on him because his approval ratings are low and people feel disenfranchised. So it's Trump's fault. It's Trump's fault for being a bad president and making everybody so angry. Of course it is. Of course it is. I'll tell you whose fault it is. It's the fault of the media. I mean, there's no question. There's no question. They've been fueling this for 10 friggin' years. 10 years. And what do they get? They get exactly what they want. They want this. They want this. Do you think they would be able, if Donald Trump were killed, do you think they'd be able to contain their excitement? Of course not. They'd come on, they'd be like, well, the president passed away today. Very sad to see. Even in the aftermath of that. So 60 Minutes, get this, 60 Minutes had Donald Trump on their show last night. And don't ask me how they got the turnaround on this, but they were able to pull it off very quickly. And props to them for that. But I guess they were all in D.C. already. So they did an interview with him, and I went and watched some clips. I haven't watched the whole thing yet. But one of the first clips I see is with the reporter who is Nora O'Donnell. And she is reading part of the manifesto. Some of y'all have already seen the manifesto, which I can read to you later in the show, that was found in his hotel room. Reading the part of the manifesto where this deranged individual is calling Donald Trump a pedophile and a rapist and all this kind of stuff. Why would you as a reporter read that to try? And then she acts like, well, I didn't know that he was referring to you, Mr. President. It's ridiculous. And Trump gives her the business, rightly so.
Called manifesto is a stunning thing to read, Mr. President. He appears to reference a motive in it. He writes this, quote, administration officials, they are targets. And he also wrote this, I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes.
There we go.
What's your reaction to that?
Well, I was waiting for you to read that because I knew you would, because you're horrible people, horrible people. Yeah, he did write that. I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anybody.
Do you think he was referring to you?
Excuse me. I'm not a pedophile. You read that crap from some sick person. I got associated with all stuff that has nothing to do with me. I was totally exonerated. Your friends on the other side of the plate are the ones that were involved with, let's say, Epstein or other things. But I said to myself, I'll do this interview and they'll probably, I read the manifesto, he's a sick person, but you should be ashamed of yourself reading that because I'm not any of those things.
Mr. President,
and
these are
never,
the gunman's words.
Excuse me. You shouldn't be reading that on 60 Minutes. You're a disgrace. But go ahead. Let's finish the interview.
Boom.
He's like, you're a disgrace for even bringing that up. And she is. What was the point of bringing that up? Just because she wanted to say it on air. That's why. Which ultimately fuels the very thing that we dealt with on Saturday. And he knew that was going to happen. By the way, and I don't know if the press realizes this or not, but he's got them figured out. He's had them. He had them figured out before he even went into politics. More so than any president I've ever seen. Any politician I've ever seen. He's got these people so figured out that he goes into an interview knowing exactly what they're going to do, what they're going to say. That's why he likes Caroline Leavitt, because she's much like Trump. She goes into those press briefings knowing exactly what these reporters are going to ask, what they're going to say, how they're going to act. Trump does it every single time. He does them to a T. Doesn't make it any less disgusting, but even the day after an assassination attempt, she has the audacity to bring up a deranged individual's allegations and then tries to act like, oh, I didn't know he was talking about you.